Hello, friends. Hope you're doing great. Today's reading passage of IELTS, we are going to discuss about fire, such that how and when the fire was discovered. So let's get started. I spark a flint of fire leapt to life. The control of fire was the first and perhaps greatest of humanity's steps towards a life-enhancing technology. To early men, fire was a divine gift randomly delivered in the form of lightning, forest fire, or burning lava. Unable to make flame for themselves, the earliest peoples probably stored fire by keeping slow-burning logs alight or by carrying charcoal in pots. How and where men learned how to produce flame, that is still unknown. It was probably a secondary invention accidentally made during tool-making operations with wood or stone. Studies of primitive societies suggest that the earliest method of making fire was through friction. European peasants would insert a wooden drill in a round hole and rotate it briskly between their palms. This process could be speeded up by the wrapping a cord around the drill and pulling on each end. The ancient Greeks used lenses or concave mirrors to concentrate the sun's rays, and burning glasses were also used by Mexican, Aztecs, and the Chinese. Percussion methods of fire lighting date back to Paleolithic times, when some Stone Age tool makers discovered that chipping flints produced sparks. The technique became more efficient after the discovery of iron about 5,000 years ago in Arctic North America. The Eskimos produced a slow-burning spark by striking quartz against iron pyrites, a compound that contains sulfur. The Chinese lit their fires by striking porcelain with bamboo. In Europe, the combination of steel, flint, and tinder remained the main method of fire lighting until the mid-19th century. Fire lighting was revolutionized by the discovery of phosphorus isolated in 1669 by a German alchemist trying to transmute silver into gold. Impressed by the element's combustibility, several 17th century chemists used it to manufacture fire lighting devices, but the results were dangerously inflammable, with phosphorus costing the equivalent of several hundred pounds per ounce. The first matches were expensive. The quest for a practical match really began after 1781, when a group of French chemists came up with the phosphoric candle, or Albert match, a sealed glass tube containing a twist of paper tipped with phosphorus. When the tube was broken, air rushed in, causing the phosphorus to self-combust. An even more hazardous device, popular in America, was the instantaneous light box, a bottle filled with sulfuric acid into which splints treated with chemicals were dipped. The first matches resembling those used today were made in 1827 by John Walker, an English pharmacist who borrowed the formula from a military rocket maker called Congreve. Costing a shilling a box, Congreves were splints coated with sulfur and tipped with potassium chlorate. To light them, the user drew them quickly through folded glass paper. Walker never patented his invention, and 3 years later, it was copied by Samuel Jones, who marketed his product as lucifers. About the same time, a French chemistry student called Charles Soria produced the first strike anywhere, made by substituting white phosphorus for the potassium chlorate in the Walker formula. However, since white phosphorus is a deadly poison from 1845, matchmakers exposed to its fumes succumbed to necrosis, a disease that eats away jaw bones. It wasn't until 1906 that the substance was eventually banned. That was 62 years after a Swedish chemist called Pasch had discovered non-toxic red or amorphous phosphorus, a development exploited commercially by Pasch compatriot J.E. Lundström. In 1885, Lundström's safety matches were safe because the red phosphorus was non-toxic. It was painted onto the striking surface instead of match tip, which contained potassium chlorate with a relatively high ignition temperature of 182 degrees centigrade. America lagged behind Europe in match technology and safety standards. It wasn't until 1900 that the Diamond Match Company bought a French patent for safety matches. But the formula did not work properly in the different climatic conditions prevailing in America, and it was another 11 years before scientists finally adapted the French patent for the U.S. The Americans, however, can claim several firsts in matching technology and marketing. In 1982, the Diamond Match Company pioneered book matches. The innovation did not catch on until after 1896, when a brewery had the novel idea of advertising its product in matchbooks. Today, book matches are the most widely used type in the U.S., with 90% free by hotels, restaurants, and others. Other American innovations include an anti-afterglow solution to prevent the match from smoldering after it has been blown out, and the waterproof match which lights after 8 hours in water. Now we are going to move to the early fire lighting methods. I am going to put before you some questions with dotted lines that you have to fill out with the appropriate letter. So number 1, they try to dash burning logs or charcoal dash that they could create fire themselves. It is suspected that the first man-made flames were produced by dashed. They tried to preserve burning logs or charcoal, unaware that they could create fire themselves. It is suspected that the first man-made flames were produced by chance. The very first fire lighting methods involved the creation of dash by, for example, rapidly dash a wooden stick in a round hole. The use of dash or persistent chipping was also widespread in Europe and among other peoples such as the Chinese, and dash European practice of this method continued until the 1850s dash the discovery of phosphorus some years earlier. The very first fire lighting methods involved the creation of friction by, for example, rapidly rotating a wooden stick in a round hole. the use of percussion or persistent chipping was also widespread in Europe and among other people such as the Chinese and Eskimos. European practice of this method continued until the 1850s, despite the discovery of phosphorus some years earlier. Now we are going to the third and final section of today's reading portion, made using a less poisonous type of phosphorus, identical to a previous type of match, caused a deadly illness. First matches used for advertising relied on an airtight glass container made with the help of any army design. So that's all for today's class. Allah Hafiz.